Christopher, talk to us about the coverage that this latest attack is getting locally. This is like the third violent attack that's happened in Dallas just this year.
3 in Texas, 2 in Dallas. There was an ICE attack, a notable one on an ICE facility in Alvarado, Texas, by the Elm Fork John Brown Gun Club, which is being investigated actually by the Justice Department right now as potentially having some form of collaboration with the Kirk assassin, interestingly enough. We've made no ties yet between this particular shooter and that group, but we're investigating that closely as well.
The John Brown Gun Club is based in Kansas, as I understand it, and is said to be left-wing. Tell us about the John Brown Gun Club.
Yeah, so it was a very organized Antifa cell, most of them living together in Fort Worth, Texas. The outcome there, they attacked a facility with ARs in that case. Fortunately, nobody was hurt or killed in that particular incident. But yeah, they've been very active in this area for a long time. They're known to carry long weapons at drag queen for children's shows to deal with counter protesters, as an example, and had a run-in with Fort Worth police not too long ago. I'd say it was about a year ago, actually, when they actually assaulted a couple of members of the counter protesters.
Christopher, what can you tell us about the gunman in this latest attack at the ICE facility?
Yeah, his name's Joshua John. I mean, he appears to, be another one of these confused kids that's been radicalized by the rhetoric coming from far left politicians and their sidekicks in the far left media, the lying legacy media, as I call them. He had some role in the marijuana business, lives actually here in a Dallas suburb, I believe it's Allen, Texas, and then also had part-time residency in Oklahoma as well. So I know, for example, that the FBI has been to both homes and, they're conducting a very thorough investigation, but it seems clear and, most of the reporting is consistent that he was radicalized and hated the government, hated the Trump administration, et cetera. Very similar to what we believe the motive is, of course, in the Kirk assassination.
Now, the acting head of ICE says that there have been a 1,000% increase in attacks on ICE agents recently. What's going on?
I think it's clear. It's this combination of, this incitement and dangerous rhetoric coming from the far left, and no one in the legacy media is holding them accountable. As you well know, the vast, wild majority of quote-unquote journalists in this country also lean that direction, and their bias is completely evident, and not only what they report, but what they don't report. For example, here in Dallas-Fort Worth, our 2 major print dailies, the Dallas Morning News, which is now owned by a New York company, and the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, which is owned by a New Jersey hedge fund, non-reported to this day the potential motive or the prospective motive that's been laid out by the FBI for the Kirk assassination. They just don't report it. And they don't report on, some of this insightful, hateful rhetoric, coming from a lot of the far left politicians. So there's no accountability. And it's almost, it's so strange because it almost feels like it's purposeful. Like they're purposely trying to get folks to do these crazy things.
And also what they do, Christopher, as you know, is say, well, both sides do it, as if the violence is coming from the right just as much as it's coming from the left, when clearly it is not. You look at polls from YouGov, for example, very liberal people are 8 times more likely to believe that violence is at least sometimes acceptable to achieve political aims compared to so-called very conservative people.
Yeah, correct. I think I saw a poll the other day, it might have been the same one, where 42% of Democrats said the political violence is justified. And, keep in mind, we're not that far from the Biden administration, where the director of Homeland Security was saying that, right-wing extremism, and white supremacy was, the leading domestic terror threat, which is just absurd. I mean, we're covering these stories that the legacy media won't every single week. And there's new incidents of violence every week. And we've forgotten about a lot of them. We don't even talk about, the 2 attempts on Trump's life anymore. We don't talk about, a number of these school shootings that have been conducted by these Trans-Tifa types. They just refuse to report it because, as you well know, it doesn't fit their political agenda narrative.
Yeah, before you came on, Chris, I talked about how the left is saying with a mathematical certainty that the rhetoric used by Donald Trump on January 6th incited a quote-unquote insurrection, and they believe that because George Floyd was black and Officer Derek Chauvin was white, therefore what happened to George Floyd had to do with his race, even though the officer was never charged with a hate crime, and the lead prosecutor never even implied that the officer was motivated by George Floyd's race. Yet we had 4 months of protests, all because of this assumption that had absolutely no proof of a connection. But they don't want to connect the dots regarding these attacks on Charlie Kirk and the attacks that have happened here in Texas.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.